What's My Line? Brought to you by Allstate, whose policies now include protection for your home, your family, as well as your car. You're in good hands with Allstate. Now let's all play What's My Line? And now, let's meet our What's My Line panel. First, the popular columnist whose voice of Broadway appears in papers coast to coast, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
Thank you. You may not know it, but this particular program is rife with squires of Mount Kisco. And one of our favorite squires is the very squirey and very attractive and marvelous game player, Martin Gable.
Thank you, Dorothy. On my left, an old acquaintance of mine, now appearing an old acquaintance by John Van Bruten at Iverton, Connecticut, Miss Arlene Francis.
A lot of people think that publishers don't really do anything very much except get the books out, but I can tell you that this weekend I saw this particular gentleman reading 6 manuscripts at the same time for Random House. Here he is, bug-eyed but ours, Mr. Bennett, Cerf.
And here is our distinguished panel moderator, as voluble as he is valuable, John Charles Daly.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What's My Line. Martin Gable is back with us, which is always a happy omen for a happy half hour. Martin, nice to have you with us. We have some interesting occupations, have some very nice people who brought them to the theater, and we'll also have a famous mystery guest before my friends on the panel a little bit later in the program. We'll meet our first challenger, and now it's time to meet our first contestants. Will you enter and sign in, please? Sally? Hensler. And Nancy? Hensler. Must be sisters. Nancy and Sally Hensler, and I must say that we want to be fair with you and tell you that this is a summer occupation that we're talking about. Having given you that extra bit of information, we're going to take a little bit away from you. I will tell you that the lovely Mrs. Nancy and Sally Hensler are from New England. Otherwise, we will tell you naught. All right? Fine. Now, would you all join me over here? Do you both know how we keep score on What's My Line?
Yes.
Fine, then let's let the audience at home and the audience in the theater know exactly what your line is. All right, panel, we can tell you that Nancy and Sally are self-employed and deal in a product. And we'll begin the general questioning with Bennett, Cerf.
Which Miss Hensler is going to answer me?
Either or both.
Either or both?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Mr. Daly did not tell us where you come from in New England is possibly due to the fact that if we knew where you came from, we might more easily identify the product with which you're associated. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you do your work then anywhere near the seashore?
Yes.
Has your product got anything to do with the sea or the water or something pertaining thereto?
Yes.
Is it some kind of fish?
Yes.
Are you from the state of Maine?
Yes.
What kind of fish have they got?
Lobsters.
Lobsters. Have you got something to do with lobsters?
Yes.
Well, you don't go out and dig out the lobsters out of the pots, do you? Are they lobster fishermen who empty the pot? Oh, I'm so sorry. That's what I thought.
No, I must say, Sally and Nancy, Bennett said just very quietly a moment ago he was sorry, but you don't have to be sorry. We're going to stick those all over anyway, because it was a fine piece of reasoning. Now, we toyed with the idea of just saying Maine, and the thought that these two lovely young ladies would never cross your minds as lobster fishermen might work. And I think maybe I made a mistake in changing it and saying New England. That made you suspicious. Yes, Dorothy?
I know what Martin and I were both thinking of. We thought Hyannisport. They have something to do with peddling something to the president's family, and that's why you wouldn't say Hyannisport.
Well, good. Then I misled you two, but didn't unfortunately.
That's right. You should have started with us.
I wonder if the Mrs. Henslers know the story of the lobsterman who was down in New York on a vacation, got word that his mother-in-law had been pulled ashore with 4 lobsters clinging to her. And they said, what should we do with her? And he said, set her out again.
There's one thing that would tickle you all, I think. That is the fact that these two young ladies, 15 and 17, 18, 16, 17. Oh, I guess I shouldn't have asked that question anyway. I'm sorry, girls. My apologies. But they go out and set their own traps and pull these big 40-pound lobster traps up out of the water, you know, and take their lobsters out and rebait them and push them over the side. And I asked them what the biggest problem they had was, and it turned out it's boys. The boys are jealous of their ability as lobstermen, and they keep on fouling their traps up. And I'm ashamed to be a man. That's all I got to say. Well, Sally and Nancy, I do wish that we'd given the panel a lot more trouble. Mostly because I think it would be wonderful for What's My Line to have 2 such lovely young ladies sitting beside me for the whole program. I think that'd be delightful. Meanwhile, congratulations to you both. I hope you're having a wonderful summer in the lobster business. I hope you get all A's when you go back to school. In fact, I hope you both have everything you ever want of life. And thanks for being our guests on What's My Line. Nice to see you both. And now let's try a second contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Donald F. Duncan. Well, I know what the D stands for. Mr. Duncan, would you tell us where you're from?
I'm from Wilmette, Illinois.
Wilmette, Illinois. Mr. Duncan is from Wilmette, Illinois, and may I present our panel, Mr. Duncan? Distinguished looking group on your immediate right. Will you join me over here, please? Do you know how we keep score in What's My Line?
I think so.
All right, then let's let the audience here and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right, panel, we can tell you that Mr. Duncan is self-employed and deals in a product, and we'll begin the general questioning with Arlene Francis.
Mr. Duncan, is it a product that any of us on the panel might use?
Perhaps.
Is it a product that is found outside of the home?
Sometimes.
Could also be found indoors?
Yes.
Is it a product that touches the person in any way?
Yes.
Would it be considered any form of apparel?
No.
1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mr. Duncan, might your product be consumed in any way?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Is this solid rather than liquid?
I didn't hear the question.
Is it solid rather than liquid, the product?
Yes.
Is it anything that you could put anything liquid into?
No.
3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Gable.
When it touches the person, is it in the process of use?
Yes.
Is it something that's seasonal in its use?
Yes.
Well, here I would say, with your permission, that much would depend on the subjective attitude of the potential user. We would agree that there is a possibility that one time of the year might suggest itself as a more salubrious climate for the use. But this does not bar or rule out its use over a full 12 months period. Is that right, Mr.?
Mm-hmm. My family told me that my education, such as it was, would come in useful one day, but you've outmatched me, John. It's salubrious. You sure? Would you explain in what connection you've told
Well,
me?
I was merely trying to point out that while you, I thought, were seeking some definition of periods of use with your question.
Periodicity.
Periodicity. The seasonal factor, while it might have some effect upon the degree of use, does not necessarily inhibit use at any time.
Well, I'm interested at the flow of language. However misty its content is to me. Would I be more apt to use this product than, say, Miss Kilgallen?
It would be very difficult to make a decision as to that question. I would say that the use of either one of you would depend perhaps on a set of circumstances which would be controlling.
Would I be improved as a result of having used your product?
Would you be improved? I don't think so.
No.
No, we can't even beg that one, Martin. Sorry. That's 4 out of 6 to go, Miss Francis.
Equally sorry.
If the product does come in touch with the person, does the person then use this product for a specific reason?
Yes.
Yes, I would say there was
Is
a
it
goal.
ever used on anything other than the person?
No.
It is used for the person alone. It
It's
isn't
used-
used to use on anything else.
It's used for purposes which
Right.
the individual using
Needs.
it has previously expressed a wish or... Mr. Cerf?
Mr. Duncan, is your product ever used by the police?
No.
No.
That's 6 down and 4 to go. Make a great picture, though. I'll promise you that. Miss Kilgallen.
Great what?
Make a great picture.
Yes, Mr. Duncan, I was sort of getting that message, and I was going to say that may I rule out handcuffs, because
That's what I
they
was
are
thinking.
sometimes used on a chair or something else by the police to handcuff a person to a solid object. And but this has to be used on a person, is that right? And
well,
yet
no,
not
it is
be
not. What
apparel.
was suggested was it would be used by an individual for that individual's sole goals.
In other words, if I wanted this, I would have to want it. Nobody could make me want it. Is that the idea?
I would think that substantially is true.
Except, of course, for American great merchandising persuasiveness.
Well, even here, I would think, Martin, that Dorothy would have to make the decision herself that her relationship to the product in question was a desirable one and would be satisfying to her.
I didn't mean this in the pejorative sense.
Is this product, or has it ever been, alive?
No.
7 down and 3 to go. Martin.
Has it anything to do, I realize almost anything would improve my looks, but does this have anything to do with improving one's looks?
No.
8 down and 2 to go, Miss Francis.
When it is used by the person, would it be used from the waist up? Anywhere in the region of the body from the waist up, I should say.
Well, I think here we have to qualify the answer and say when it was in use by the individual, it certainly in some periods of its use could be described as being located in an area generally having to do with that area of the individual from the waist up.
Therefore,
Siquamita sint.
it could also perhaps find its way to the lower part of the body as well.
I think it would be fair to say that, again, depending entirely on the will and the whim of the individual, it might be used in relationship to areas contiguous to those areas to be described as the lower portions of the human anatomy.
After all of that, is there anything pleasurable in this miserable thing?
Yes, indeed.
There is something pleasurable about
Yes,
it.
indeed.
Well, like a back scratcher you could use anywhere, I suppose.
Is your
Is it
question-
something, no, but is it something that would be used to please one, like a back scratcher would please one if one had an itch?
Well, it is something which you would use with the express purpose of deriving pleasure from its use. To that degree, the answer to the question is yes.
Does it make one, then it makes the person feel better having used it?
Well, we would always hope so. It's very hard to be definitive about this.
Is there anything sporty about it?
Sporty?
Yes,
Well, it can, when it's used with great skill, I would imagine, be described as having in the most general sense which it's possible to apply, a sporty element. But don't be misled by that.
You say it is solid. Is it solid in that it is made of wood or metal?
yes,
Is it wood?
yes,
Does it have a shape that would immediately explain itself to me if I saw it? I'd know what it was.
yes,
I'm sorry to hear that. Does it come in colors?
yes,
It does.
Different colors?
Does it come in different shapes? Is it anybody I know?
The answer to that is...
the answer could be yes.
Well, now, wait a minute here.
It comes in different colors.
I think so. We feel that we have to answer no to that, otherwise it would mislead you. That's 9 down and 1 to go. Mr. Cerf, I'm going to give
Duncan, is your product used in playing any kind of a game?
Yes,
Would it be a game that involves the use of a ball?
No. That's 10 down and no more to go, and I'm happy to introduce to the panel Mr. Donald F. Duncan, who is president of the Duncan Yo-Yo Company of Illinois. That was fun. Actually, Mr. Duncan told me, much to my surprise, that the Duncan Yo-Yo Company does have a slightly different cast to some of the yo-yos, and this shook me up because I thought they all looked just exactly the same.
Well, there's nothing in the world like a different yo-yo. I'm happy to hear that you've developed one.
Mr. Duncan, thank you very much. It's nice to have had you on What's My Line. Good to have you with us. We'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment, but first, here is a word from us. Now we come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery challenger, for which, as is well known, the panel is always blindfolded. Blindfolds in place, panel?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Good. Will you enter mystery challenger and sign in, please? As you know, in the case of our mystery challenger, we go to a different form of questioning. You ask one question at a time, in turn, moving clockwise. And let's begin it all with Martin Gable.
Are you in the theatrical business?
Yes, I am in theatrical business.
Miss Francis?
It's Buddy Hackett back again. Are you in the picture business?
I do pictures.
Mr. Cerf?
What was that?
I do pictures.
Oh.
Is there more than one of you on mystery? Is there more than one mystery guest?
Well, sometimes I feel like it.
But the answer would be no. That's 1 down and 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Is your first name a nickname rather than a name?
Oh, you very sweet lady. Yes.
Red Button?
Red Button is right. But now we can all see how Red won that Academy Award as Best Supporting Player in Sayonara. That was a fine performance.
No, not too good. I killed myself trying to get a dialect, something that I would fool you people. I can't ever do it.
You don't really want to fool us, do you, Red?
I can't fool you. I can't. I wouldn't want to, really, because I love you. I think I grew up with all of it.
Well, actually, I think Red has a fine new picture, Hatari. And so that this specific identification, which is with you all the time from Sayonara and your great performance there, will be somewhat diluted by time and the circumstance of the new picture, and when you have that accent, they won't immediately think, well, now, I wonder if Red's around here somewhere, huh? No?
What'd he say? What'd he say?
Animal noises now.
What do you
Yes,
play
I
in this
know.
picture, Red?
I'm now an African big game hunter. Hatari, which is at the DeMille Theater. And big success.
And with Big John Wayne.
Oh, I mean Big John Wayne.
What does Atari
You know
mean?
what a thrill it is to talk into a man's stomach for 6 months?
What does Hatari mean, Red?
Well, literally, in Swahili, it means danger. But to me, it means social security.
Well, Red, if I may, thank you very much for being kind enough to visit us, and you know we want that picture to go on and be a bigger success than Sayonara.
John, it's a pleasure, and I'll see you folks tomorrow night at Owings Mills, Baltimore, where I'm doing Tender Trap. I hope you don't mind a short little plug.
Not bad. Good to see you.
Thank you.
We'll have another contestant after this word from our alternate sponsor. And now a final contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Frank N. Corrado. Is that right, sir? All right. Mr. Corrado, where are you from?
New York.
Mr. Corrado is from New York, and may I present the panel? Will you join me over here, please? You know how we keep score, Mr. Corrado?
Yes, I do.
Fine, then let's let the audience at home and the audience in the theater know exactly what your line is. All right, panel. You have only a little more than 2 minutes, but we will tell you that Mr. Corrado is salaried and deals in a service, and let's begin with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Mr. Corrado, you're very big and brawny and athletic looking, so may I assume you have nothing to do at all with sports?
No.
Yes, you may
yes.
assume.
Oh.
Mr. Corrado does not have no.
Could I benefit from your service?
Can you better for my service?
I would think not except in the most relative way, Dorothy. We'd have to give you no on that. 1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Gable.
Is your service more for men than for women?
Yes.
Is it something that has to do with their bodies?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Miss Francis.
Do they come to you for their service? For the service?
Do they come to me for their service?
Well, actually, the individuals do not, except in the initial sense of making the engagement. Thereafter, they do not come directly. That's 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mr. Corrado, when you do perform the service, then, do you perform it in the homes of the people for whom you are doing this service?
No, there's a misconception in the question which makes a no mandatory. 4 down and 6 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Mr. Corrado, is there anything advisory or educational about what you do?
No.
5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Gable.
Do you have to have a college degree for what you do?
No.
6 down and 4 to go, Miss Francis.
Does your work have anything to do with detecting or discovery of any kind?
No.
7 down and 3 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Does your work accomplish an improvement of some kind?
Yes.
Would the improvement be in landscaping or in housing rather than in the person, on the person of whom you're performing the
Yes.
service? Do you do anything outside of the yard? Would you say that it was more connected with the general highway than with the private property of somebody?
No.
No, and I'm afraid we'd run out of time, but Bennett had begun to open some doors. Mr. Corrado has a very interesting job. He cleans the exterior of the Empire State Building here in New York, working outside on scaffolding. What do you go with Rogel and Best?
Yes, I'm with Rogel and Best.
Rogel and Best. How long does it take you to clean the Empire State Building?
Well, the process will take about 6 months.
Big laundry job. Thanks very much, Mr. Corrado. Nice to have you with us in What's My Line. I've managed to use up all of tonight's time. Let me say again, Martin, it's wonderful to have you with us, as always, and I'll say good night for everyone on the panel, if I may, and for myself. Thank you for being with us on What's My Line?
What's My Line is a CBS television network production in association with Mark Goodson and Bill Todman. Johnny Olson speaking. The preceding program was pre-recorded. What's My Line?